Hi again then guys, and welcome to another retro review from the very first Gran Turismo game once again. And for those who maybe haven't seen one of these collab videos before, this is just that, a team effort between myself and one of the Team HSG crew, aka the Patreon supporters for the channel, this time once again Ness in Pyjamas, who of course last time looked at the NSX race car, also from GT1, now the Subaru Impreza rally car from GT1 as well. And if you are new to these collab video series, not only would I recommend checking out the other ones because there are some really interesting videos there, but also if it's something that appeals to you, actually working with me, putting your own thoughts out on the channel on a monthly basis, that kind of good stuff, then click the link below and check out the page. But that's it from me, of course. Let's hand it over to Ness.
Greetings from my bedroom, and welcome to episode 50 of Dirt Masters, returning to the world of the first Gran Turismo game. Which is a little odd considering that this game doesn't have any rally tracks, but meh. The Lexus ISF CC-SR is a Pikes Peak car that can't be driven on the dirt anyway, so who really cares? Before I get started on one of my absolute favorite cars in the game, however, I want to bring up an error that I made in the last episode. I said that the torque figures in GT1 are way higher than their real-world counterparts, literally in the thousands for every car in the game. Well, someone in the comment section of that video kindly corrected me the reason why that seemed the case. Simply put, the developer team messed up when coding the spec sheets and misplaced the decimal on every single one of them. So in actuality, the NSX we reviewed last month has 265 pound-feet of torque. So thank you to that person, I really appreciate it. With that out of the way, let's move on to this car, the Subaru Impreza Rally Edition. You may be wondering why I decided to review this car, ignoring the fact that we still have the Impreza rally car from 1999 because they are still two different cars. This is based on the 1997 rally car, just without the 555 liveries on them. But even with that fact, this specific car did get carried over to Gran Turismo 2 as a prize car in the Grand Valley Endurance race. So why are we reviewing this car in this game? Well, it's the same reason why Mike reviewed the Mazda Lola B09 from Forza Motorsport 3 despite appearing in future titles. That car can be tuned up to way more horsepower in Forza 3 than the rest of the games can and results in one of the best LMP2 cars in the game. Likewise with this Impreza rally car compared to GT2, because to get the main highlight out of the way, this car, and to be honest I'm still shocked that they did this, has 575 horsepower. Now, compared to the rest of the 14 race cars in GT1, that is about in the middle of the pack, and is pretty good. For an Impreza though, that is just bonkers! If you recall from the potato camera days of the HSG reviews of the Impreza and Evo cars, you'll remember that almost all those cars have the same problem, in that they can't be tuned up higher than they deserve to be. Even in this game, the Impreza sedan fully tuned can only be upgraded to 494 horsepower. This Impreza does 575 from the get-go! What's even more crazy is that the Impreza sedan, when upgraded, has a very big flaw in that it suffers from gigantic turbo lag. Seriously, it's one of the worst turbo lags you'll ever encounter in Gran Turismo. You pump your gas pedal before you start the race and it will start revving once the 3 shows up on screen. Meanwhile, this rally car of course does have turbo lag, but it's more of the usual lag that you'll get in a turbocharged car. In other words, not that bad. So spinning out by accident, not like you're gonna do such a thing, isn't nearly as punishing. The funny thing about this Impreza, however, is that the rest of the car's specs is actually very similar to a normal WRC car. 297 pound-feet of torque and an even more impressive 979 kilograms. Again, a 575 horsepower Impreza that weighs less than a ton. I don't care how unrealistic that is f***ing awesome! And thanks to that, this has 587 horsepower per ton. Very, very close to the 600 region. That leads me on to the discussion of what is the best race car in the game, which I looked at some forums on the topic on websites in my teen years when I was curious. It has been a long while, but if I recall correctly, it usually came down to 3 cars, the Mitsubishi FTO LM, TVR Cerbera LM, and the purple or yellow Dodge Copperhead, or concept car as it's called in the game. And I can attest to that. Those are all fantastic cars in their own way. But I don't think I've seen too many people discuss this car, and to be honest, I'm not so sure as to why. And I'm not saying this because I'm an Impreza fan, which indeed I am. The Impreza is overall my favorite range of JDM car, from the original to the latest one. I love all of them, even the hatchback has grown on me over the past few months. But putting my bias to one side, I would still consider this among the best race cars in the game. Yeah, the top speed stock isn't all that great at 160 miles per hour, which you can get up to easily on most circuits. But A, you can always change the transmission to make the top speed go higher, and B, even with stock transmission, the performance on this car is among the best in the entire game. Now I'm not going to say that this is the best race car in Gran Turismo 1, that would be the Copperhead, which we'll also review later on. But even so, with stock transmission, this can go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds flat, tying the FTO LM as the fastest car from 0 to 60. The same goes from 0 to 400 meters, 9.1 seconds, which unlike the FTO, is the fastest in the game. Now obviously, the 0 to 1000 meters test doesn't fare quite as well thanks to its low top speed, but even so, it's not as bad as one might seem, 17.7 seconds, which is more so in the middle of the pack. And part of that is thanks to that amazing launch. So really, you don't need to upgrade the transmission to win with the Impreza Rally Car, but obviously you'll achieve better lap times if you do so. One of the reasons why I would say that this can easily win races without much thought is because despite the massive horsepower for this Impreza, it still feels like a perfectly capable race car on the road. It has the speed of a Group B car, but the handling of a WRC car. In other words, in my opinion, this has easily the best handling out of any car in the game. To give you some idea of what this can do, both with the black stock and blue tuned Impreza, I started the Grand Valley race in the GT World Cup event, giving the AI a 10-second head start. I demolished them, even with that handicap. That NSX race I did at Trial Mountain last month, I started with the race of the pack, and I still lost to the leading player. So that should show you just what this car is capable of. Now, what I was saying earlier on the difference with this iteration of the Impreza Rally Car compared to Gran Turismo 2, in that game it only had 404 horsepower, and I think that's a shame that they made this decision. I mean, I get it, they wanted to make it more competitive with the other WRC machines in the game like your Evos, Deltas, Celicas, Focuses, all those other cars. Here's my issue though, we already have the Impreza 99 car for that job, which you can purchase in the Subaru dealership, making it much easier to obtain than the endurance race. Which, let me remind you, there is a 50% chance that you can obtain it. As a result, the reward for winning that car is more so a throwback to the original Gran Turismo, which is nowhere near close to Gran Turismo 2 in terms of popularity despite being the best-selling game on the original PlayStation, rather than a particularly useful weapon. In my opinion, they should have kept that 575 horses in GT2, because I just love this car so much in GT1. It may even be my favorite Impreza in the entire Gran Turismo franchise. I love the 22B, especially in GT Sport with its updated graphics and such, and it is my favorite Impreza in real life, to the point where it's in my top 3 favorite cars. But here, this particular car is among the most fun I've ever had in any Gran Turismo. So overall, if it wasn't obvious enough, I would highly recommend checking out this car. It is expensive, again joining 5 other cars as the most expensive at 500 grand. But unlike the NSX, which is more niche and selective in who would be satisfied with purchasing it, anyone can enjoy this Impreza no problem. This is Nessa Pajamas saying, fluffy pillows.
And that is it for this particular Patreon collab. Of course, next time we'll be back once again with Ness for another Gran Turismo 1 car review, and with the other members of the team in whatever videos they decide to do. But overall, that's it for this installment. Of course, we will see you guys next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.